Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Full Potential Show. I'm James Rick, and this is your #1 non-boring source for personal development. And today on the line, we have Dolores Seright. She's a speaker, author, and Shattering Barriers coach. Her first book is Shattering Barriers, Amazing Women's Journey to Personal Empowerment. And men, stay tuned. This is going to apply to you too, I'm sure. Awards, she's recognized as Shattering Barriers Red Carpet event in 2011. The website is salesmasteryforwomen.com. Dolores, thank you for being on today's Full Potential Show.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to talking.
Well, we are indeed going to talk about your book, Shattering Barriers. And, first of all, I'd like to always know a little bit about the story behind the book. So maybe you could fill us in on why you wrote the book in the first place.
Okay, Shattering Barriers, the book has a very interesting story, and it goes back about 6 years ago. I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, and at the time, that was a real wake-up call and one of those instances where you have to step up and face your own mortality. And as I was doing that, I realized that, first of all, I was going to be here for a long time yet. My plan was to have giggle parties with my grandchildren and really fight this with everything that I had in me to fight.
And those were already scheduled, right? You couldn't leave early. The giggle parties were already on the calendar.
Absolutely, and there's nothing more fun than doing that with your grandchildren. And so at that point, I faced a year of surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, and at the same time, I was a regional business director for a pharmaceutical company. So very fast-paced life. I was on an airplane every week of my life, and life was hectic, but life was good, and I was doing what I loved at the time. But at the end of that year, I really made a decision that I needed to step away from that corporate life that I loved, and so I decided to retire. But I'm not the type of person that can just sit back in the rocking chair. So I started volunteering at a women's resource center in Phoenix, and I was volunteering there as a career coach, helping women get a fresh start. And as I was working with these women, one of the things that I realized very quickly was they all needed they needed a helping hand. And the other thing that they really needed was they needed to believe that they had a chance of achieving more in their life. And as I worked with them, I began to think about this idea, let's write a book. I wanted to write a book and share the stories of other women and how they had overcome obstacles in their life. And my hope was that the women in the book, or the women that read the book, would say, you know what, I relate to her. If she can do it, maybe I can do it.
So you were working in this women's resource group?
Yes, I was doing career coaching with these women, and the organization was Fresh Start Women's Foundation, based in Phoenix, Arizona.
And these women, where were they coming from? At what stage were they in their lives? Was it a fresh start like for business, or fresh start in life? They had just had a hard time. Where are they at?
It was an interesting mix of women, because some of them were women that were maybe going through life changes, career changes. They had lost jobs, or they wanted to change careers, and they were looking for something different and needed the resources. Some of the women were actually coming out of domestic violence centers. Some of them had just lost a job and they needed help. How do I write a resume? How do I interview? Where do I go to take that next step? So a wide mix of women.
And as you're helping these women, you're saying, man, I need a way to clone myself. And so that's where the inspiration for the book came from.
It definitely did, because there is, as you know, in today's economy, there's a lot of need out there, a lot of women, a lot of people that are looking for another way to move forward in their life and do something different, or just, in some cases, just get a job.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why I do the show, is because we have to find a way to get this kind of positive information out to as many people as possible, and we can't do the one-on-one thing. And not everybody is reading books either, and so this is a way to share the insights that you intended to share in your book, also in a visual and audio format and a different medium. So let's dive in. Let's talk about your book, Shattering Barriers, and what you really hope folks get out of it. What are the top 3 ideas that you really hope people can extract from your book and really take home with them as they apply it?
I think the #1 lesson that I hope people will get from reading the book is that women and people can overcome obstacles, and sometimes those obstacles may look monumental when they're right there in front of us. But as you read some of the stories of the 26 women that I interviewed for Shattering Barriers, all of those obstacles were different. Some of them were very personal, and the women have shared them. And my hope was that as you read Shattering Barriers, one of these stories will relate, and you will look at that woman and her story and say, she's just like me. And if she did that, I really can do it too. I can learn how to do it. And the tools are in the book so that you can take those immediate steps and say, okay, this is what I have to do to get to where I want to go. So the lesson is also there along with the story.
So realize first that we all have obstacles, and they come in a variety of shapes and forms, but as they're up in our face, they can appear bigger than they are. But by seeing people who've triumphed over similar obstacles, we can be inspired and know that we can overcome those obstacles.
We can overcome those obstacles, and in often instances, we just need to know how to do it. We need to know what are the skills that I have to learn to take that next step and move forward and have a different life.
I know we probably can't cover all of them, but what are some of those next steps? Let's say we've got an obstacle, we know we can overcome it, but we just got to know how. What are some of the key hows that maybe we could start to apply? And maybe you can relate it to some common obstacles that you see people facing.
Okay, I think one of the things that's really important is understanding that we're not alone in our world today. There are many resources out there that can help us take those next steps, and sometimes it's hard for people to say, I need help, and to ask for those resources. And so that's one of the things that I hope people will learn from the book is look for the resources, know they're out there, and go find them and say, I need this, will you help me?
Don't feel like you need to do it on your own.
Do not feel like you need to do it all by yourself, because many times it's impossible to do that. And I'll briefly share the story of a lady that I did meet through Fresh Start, and she came in, had a great lifestyle and the luxuries that most of us dream about having in our lives. She lived in the 4,000 square foot home, drove the nice car, and one day her husband came home and said, I'm leaving. So she ended up with a divorce. She had been a stay-at-home mom. She had several children that she was raising, and she was very much into, this is a great thing. I love my life. I love being a mother. And so she did not have the job skills. And so now she's faced with being 40 years old and having to find a way to bring in income and support her 3 children. And so she came to Fresh Start. She did ask for help, and she is taking all the right steps. She set goals, put an action plan in place, and today she owns her own business, and she's doing very well.
And so no matter what situation, no matter how abrupt it can happen, as long as you follow the strategy, it doesn't matter who follows it, but there is strategies, there is ways to go about doing things, and it sounds like she bounced back pretty quick because she was willing to take the steps.
She was willing to take the steps, and she really sat down, she wrote out her goals, and she developed a plan to accomplish those goals, and one day at a time, she did that.
Now, and these are all things that you talk about in the book, and do you dissect what many of these women and what men can do as well if they just follow the steps? I mean, do you outline what those steps are?
In a way I do that, yes, and the way I do it is each one of the women's stories deals with a different issue, and sometimes we're talking about things like self-esteem. Do I feel good about myself? Other times it's dealing with challenges like, how do I step out of my comfort zone? This is something I've never done before. Maybe it's a little bit scary, but am I going to actually do it? So what I've done is entwined the story with a very specific message and then a lesson on how do I really do this and move forward with my own life. How do I set goals? How do I develop that action plan? So they're entwined throughout the book.
And it is relating with the people in the story is what I hear, is that each had their obstacle, found their path, and through their stories you can relate with them and identify a path that works for you.
That is absolutely right.
All right, Dolores, my dear, well, are there any final thoughts before we share where people can get a copy of the book and learn more about you and start shattering some barriers?
I think the one thing that I would like to share is that definitely you need to believe in your dreams, and you do need to shatter through those barriers, overcome those obstacles, and don't give up. Because if you make up your mind, I'm going to do this, you can find a way to do it, you can find the support to do it, and you can live that life of your dreams and achieve more.
And you don't want to get the formula backwards. You don't want to shatter your dreams and believe in your barriers, right?
That's exactly right.
All right. Well, where can they learn more about you and the book that you're getting out there into the world?
Okay, they can go to www.salesmasteryforwomen.com. They can learn more, and my book is available, Shattering Barriers, on Amazon.com and also on the website.
Okay, the book is called Shattering Barriers. You can learn more and pick up a copy at salesmasteryforwomen.com. This is Dolores Seright. Be sure and pick up a copy of the book and check out the website. Dolores, thank you so much for being on today's Full Potential Show.
It was great being here. Thank you for having me.
It was great having you. Everybody be sure and like and subscribe to Full Potential Show so you get more great insights from people like Dolores and freebies that you only find right here on the Full Potential Show. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Take care, Dolores.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Well, that concludes this week's episode of the Full Potential Show, your #1 non-boring source for personal development. I'm James Rick, and if you want to get more positive programming for your brain absolutely free on a weekly basis, just visit fullpotential.com.
If you like the Full Potential Show, you're going to love the Full Potential Club. What would you like most as a Full Potential Club member? Be 2 to 3 times more productive? Do what you're passionate about? Have more energy? Reduce your work hours? Travel the world? Enjoy an amazing lifestyle on a frugal budget? What if you could do them all? James Rick has been there and done it in ways that few people have. For anyone serious about taking their life or business to the next level, you know you've got to do more than just watch. You've got to do. Join James Rick and other like-minded people for an incredible $10 a month at fullpotential.com/club. Be educated. Be empowered. Be the best version of you. fullpotential.com/club. Try it free for 30 days.